Welcome to Ripple by Ihrm. What an exciting ride this has been. Can you believe we are on our 4th episode? In case you missed the previous episodes, be sure to catch up. Follow us on our social media platforms at Ihrm Kenya. We have a wonderful show lined up for you.
Young people are looking for opportunities to interact with more experienced leaders in HR profession and other professions so that they are well prepared to fit in the job market. There is something we call workforce readiness skills. That is what we need to instill in our young students when they are in the universities and colleges, so that when they come out, they are ready to work and they feel motivated.
But before that, let us see what Ihrm activities we have in store. In our previous episode, we looked at how to conduct ourselves during an interview. So congratulations on securing the job. Our goal is to make sure that you excel in your current role. So what should you do? Learn how things are done in this organization. Your first goal is to understand the people you are working with and understand how the departments are run. Get to know the leaders and managers in that organization. Also get to know the people you're working with in a particular role. Fully understand your duties and do them excellently. Your supervisor will help you understand your job description better. He or she might assign someone to help you with your tasks. Take notes, keep learning, ask questions, hit your targets and meet your deadlines. And lastly, be respectful of everyone. Before we get to the expert corner, which you want to stick around for, let us hear from our partners.
Welcome to Kangure Productions, the home of consistent quality. We are a trusted service provider, trusted by a wide array of local, multinational and international organizations. Kangure Productions is accredited by the Media Council of Kenya and the Kenya Film Classification Board. Kangure Productions, we help tell your story.
Welcome to the Expert Corner on Ripple by Ihrm. Today we are delighted to have a gentleman who has quite a number of feathers on his cap. He is a scholar, he is an award-winning HR director, and he has created a niche in the green HRM space, which he will be talking to us about. So welcome to today's show, Dr. Francis Kangure. Karibu sana.
Asante.
We are delighted to have you and to have this conversation with you. Could you just kindly introduce yourself a little more? When I talk of a number of feathers on your cap, you can get into a little more detail on what it is that you do on a daily basis.
All right. Thank you, Ihrm. And I'm excited actually to be here and actually to discuss my career. My name is Francis Kangure. I am the Director of Institutional Performance Improvement Unit at an organization called Research Triangle Institutes. We call it RTI International. I'm working under USAID Power Africa Energy Program called Empowering East and Central Africa. And this program supports energy sector in about 14 countries in East and Central Africa.
Wow.
So I'm in charge of institutional performance improvement. I manage gender equity and social inclusion. I manage training and capacity building activities. I manage climate change and environment, monitoring, evaluation, and learning for the program, and also communications.
Wow.
But my background is human resource management, and I have transitioned over the years to use my HR skills to support technical work. Apart from my daily work at RTI International, I'm also a board member for an international NGO called Trade Homes, TDH. And this organization works in several countries to support stopping child exploitation. So I serve as a board member in that organization, and it's quite an exciting journey. So basically, that's what I do.
Wow. You know, when someone listens to you introduce yourself, it's interesting. How did you transition from technical HR, because when I met you a few years ago, you were in technical HR, to board member, to leading business, and talking about energy, talking about equity and inclusion. How was that transition, and why did you make that move?
Yes, that's a good question, Irene. I transitioned because I realized that human resource affects the entire organizational transformation.
Yeah.
And mainly when you work in human resource, kind of you get the bird's eye view of how organizations work. And therefore, I made a decision to transition from mainstream HR to leadership, especially in development work. I care about two things. One is about environment, the other one is about children. And those two issues are core for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
Environmental sustainability, very interesting, and that is why I'm interested in energy sector transformation. The other one is children. There is no future without children. That's where we will get the future skills.
That's
the
an
future
interesting
work.
combination. I've not heard that before. Energy
Yes.
sector and children.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah.
The other thing that I did not mention, I'm also a postdoctoral researcher with Strathmore University, and that is where I got trained on research and got interested in academic, because when you work in the industry, the number of years that I've worked, you want to share knowledge. You want to continue learning so that you can be able to bridge the implementation or practice with theories, which is very, very interesting.
All right.
Yes.
And what did you have to do as a person to get ready for that transition into leadership? I am happy that you went back to school and got into academia. What are some of the things, even in your mindset, that you had to change so that you were equipped to take up the leadership role?
One of the things that are important, and this is what I did, is to identify good mentors. Good mentors, people you can be able to relate with, people that you admire,
Yeah.
and the people who have made change in whatever they are doing. So that's what I did, going through mentorship and coaching. Was very, very important for me. The other thing that you have mentioned is just making sure that I'm always learning.
Continuous learning.
Yes, continuous learning.
Yeah.
And I always look forward to take advantage of the opportunities provided, because in Kenya, we have very good education system and a lot of opportunities to learn. So I've always taken advantage of opportunities provided
Yeah.
to learn more about human resource, leadership, and the work that is of interest to me. And I mentioned I'm very much interested in energy transition and environmental sustainability, among other activities.
Picking up from the mentorship angle, you have supported HR professionals in Kenya through Ihrm in the mentorship journey in learning and development, and you were awarded HR Director of the Year. What was that experience like for you?
It was a humbling experience.
Yeah.
It was actually unexpected. And what it did to me is that it gave me more motivation to learn more and to try to support the HR professionals better and to improve my own skills. And it changed me in a way that it made me understand and know that there is nothing that is impossible, so long as you work hard and you look up to improving every day, especially supporting other people, mentoring other people. You always receive some kind of recognition and you feel that you are providing something valuable to humanity.
It's always encouraging to see someone else acknowledge the efforts that you're putting. I think that's what the HR awards are about, that we celebrate professionals who are giving back to the community and also to the profession. So congratulations on that award.
Thank you very much. Actually, that creates a lot of impact on people getting recognition.
Yeah.
And serving as a model to the others is quite, it really promotes the profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have touched on green HRM space, which you are very passionate about. And I know through IHRM we have conducted some research on green jobs. What is this space? Paint a picture for somebody who is wondering, what are we saying when we say green HRM? What are we talking about when we talk about green jobs? Could you just paint a picture for us what that entails, especially in the Kenyan context and the region, because you have the advantage of working in the region?
Yeah, I will start by defining a green job or a green skill. Is the ability to support environmental sustainability. Anybody who is working in an industry or job that supports environmental sustainability. For example, supporting recycling, reusing some materials so that we don't destroy the environment. Somebody who is working in renewable energy sector, somebody who is working in green manufacturing, okay? That's a green job, that's a green skill.
Yeah.
In Kenya today, we have very progressive entrepreneurs who have started e-mobility technology.
Yeah.
That is green space in a nutshell. And what motivated me to think about green human resource management is because world over, people are talking about environmental sustainability, reducing, decarbonizing the environment. And you cannot be able to decarbonize the environment without skills to support that transformation. And the human resource professionals play a critical role on creating that space, the skills to support decarbonization. We manage human capital,
Yeah, exactly.
and therefore is a very, very interesting space. That is why I got interested.
Okay.
Just to paint for you a picture, in the world there are about 8 billion people
Yeah.
living today. About 3.5 billion people are employed, they are working. So what are they doing to support the environment?
Yeah.
They need skills in order to support environmental mitigation and adaptation.
Do we have these competencies, these skills, the curricula to support this? What does that space look like? How can a HR who is running an organization support their teams acquire these skills and also incorporate the green human resource management practices in their day-to-day work?
One way of doing this is, as a human resource professional,
Yeah.
to actually get motivated to learn more about green human resource management and look for opportunities to acquire skills. There are institutions, for example, Institute of Human Resource Management, who are providing specific programs to provide skills for green human resource management.
Yeah.
And there are experts nowadays who are supporting climate change mitigation and adaptation. And some universities, some institutions have established specific programs to provide these skills. And the most important thing is actually self-learning. That's what I've done. Getting interest, getting down, in your heads to look for information.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's available with technology.
With technology, with
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, you can learn anything today.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have to go to class to learn some of these skills.
And for the workforce, if I'm looking to transition into a space and I'm interested in green HRM or in the renewable energy space, how do I pivot towards that direction? What opportunities are there? When we talk about the future of work and the skills of tomorrow, what opportunities are we seeing, especially for the younger people? Even in self-employment, for example.
Yeah. That is an interesting question. The energy sector supply chain is very dynamic, with so many technologies coming into play.
Yeah.
Kenya is a good example in the world. We are using over 90% renewable energy on the national grid. We are actually fourth in the world in geothermal production. Okay? So in Kenya, we use geothermal, we use hydro, we use wind, we use solar, we use biomass. Those technologies, some of them are relatively new. And also green hydrogen, which is the latest technology. Those technologies need workforce. And the young people have an opportunity to acquire skills that are relevant, because we are phasing out fossil fuels in energy production. So what do you need to do? As a young person, you need actually to acquire green skills. And I mentioned one of the skills is actually to be able to know and understand energy transition and understand these various technologies being applicable in the market today. Learning ICT skills. ICT skills are green because you reduce printing of papers and so on. Learning how to reuse resources. And I'll give a simple example. For example, if this is a young person who is a cleaner in an organization, you have to know how you can reuse water, conserve water. That's a green skill.
Yeah.
Yes.
The basics.
The
Go back to
basics.
the basics.
You go back to the basics. It's not complicated.
Exactly.
Yes.
And how about in self-employment? I see a lot of opportunity in self-employment when it comes to the green job. You've just talked about ICT skills.
Yeah.
The whole greening movement and tree planting and all that, we're seeing a lot of people get employment in that space. So are we saying, even as a step towards handling unemployment, that there are opportunities in the green space?
there are a lot of opportunities in
Yeah.
green space for self-employment. Since I work in the energy sector, I'll give an example of the energy sector. If you look at the solar technology, if you look at the entire supply chain, you need people who have skills to manufacture solar panels, to install, okay? To trade by selling various equipment that are used in the solar technology.
To maintain.
And to maintain.
Yeah.
All those are opportunities along the supply chain for self-employment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we need to change our thinking and look at the opportunities that are being presented,
Yes.
and not feel. I tend to feel as though when it comes to the conversation about sustainability and environment, especially, we feel as if it's for some, and some of us are removed. How can corporates, everyday offices, incorporate some of these things? You've talked about reducing printing. You've talked about reusing water. What are other things, even for the board, for example? And I don't know whether this is linked to flex working. Is there a link with the everyday office setup?
There is a lot of opportunities in everyday corporate setup. The starting point is actually coming up with a regulatory and a policy framework to support greening the industry. Okay? And when you have a very clear policy, then you are able to come up with a specific on which each person can do to be able to acquire culture and habits and behavior that supports sustainability. And I gave you an example of reusing some of the materials that we have, conserving some of the resources that we have, because if you reduce the usage, then you are supporting the environment.
Yeah.
And in any industry, there are specific retro things that people can be able to do, and they can be part of performance management system, so that everybody knows that as part of my key performance indicators, part of what I'm required to do is to support greening my organization, reducing printing, and also reducing use of fossil fuels that destroy the environment. Just to give you a few examples. So policy, regulatory framework, performance and reward system, and training on green skills are very, very important areas that we need to look at in our organizations.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ihrm, for painting the picture and for also helping us see how we can plug in our day-to-day activities. Let's move to your other world of research. You're bridging between implementation, having worked every day, and now leading business and research. How do you see the connection between academia, the education system that we have, and in particular the HR space, in promoting sustainability and enhancing it, and just like you're saying, institutionalizing it so that it becomes the norm, other than something unique that we talk about all the time?
That's a very interesting angle.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, if we want to transition and to green our industries, we need the workforce, we need the skills to support this process. Where do we get the workforce from?
Academia.
Universities, TVET institutions, schools. That's where we get these skills. So what we need to do as a country and the region, as Africa, is to create what we call linking the industry with the academia. There is a very big gap between the academia and the industry. You find students going through a whole engineering course in a university, but they have never stepped in an industry and they see the real work environment and the support operations. So we need to link the industry with the academia so that when a student goes through a 5-year degree in engineering, in between they have worked in an industry and they have seen what practically can be applied. And the industry is able to inform the academia on the current trends and what is required. And a part of this can inform the curriculum so that the curriculum has more green skills and the talents being instilled in our young graduates. So that bridge is very, very important.
And for us as Ihrm, we work very closely with learning institutions, especially tertiary institutions, and plug from HR professionals who give back and just support HR, the students, just be in touch. And I think it's also a challenge to HR professionals to open up opportunities within, because you said HR has a bird's eye view. You can tell what opportunities are there, and we can open up the opportunities for students to come and have that experience in our institutions.
Actually, young people are looking for opportunities to interact with more experienced leaders in HR profession and other professions so that they are well prepared to fit in the job market. There is something we call workforce readiness skills. That is what we need to instill in our young students when they are in the universities and colleges, so that when they come out, they are ready to work and they feel motivated. Yeah.
So how do you enjoy the link between academia and implementation? Which one do you enjoy more, if I may ask that?
It's quite exciting.
Yeah.
Actually, when you work in the industry and you interact with the academia,
Yeah.
you build very strong skills because you understand the practice and you don't want to forget the theories. So you want to work, but you always remember the theory behind what you are doing.
It
That is
kind of
what
makes
is
more
exciting.
sense.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we remain in the industry and we work for many years. We know how to do what we are doing, but we do not know the theories and the model behind what we are doing. So when you mix the two, you are able to perform better because you are always updated and you are dynamic. That is why I was able to transition from mainstream HR to being technical in development work because of interacting with the academia, because you keep on learning and you get new skills that you cannot get by remaining in the industry and not learning more on what is happening.
So for those who don't want to go back to school, this is a requirement. You have to continue learning.
You have to continue learning.
And learning has become easier. It's no longer, you know, four walls in a classroom. You can learn anywhere.
Yes, there is somebody who said that those people who don't read have no advantage over those who do not know how to read, because both of you are not reading.
Not reading.
Yes.
So there was no use for you to learn how to read in the first place.
If you don't continue reading
Yeah.
and learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move to your development space experience.
Yes.
You're very passionate about social justice, and you have
Yes.
talked about children.
Yeah.
And let me first ask, why children? I understand they're the future, but what triggered your interest to support the children, the cause for the children?
You know, Irene,
Yeah.
you are what you are today because of your childhood experiences.
Yeah.
In Africa, there are so many people who missed a lot of opportunities because of how they grew up, because they did not have good mentorship, there was no good family setup, and therefore they missed a lot of opportunities. Bright people who dropped out of school, primary school, high school, who could be contributing significantly to the development of our economy, but they did not get an opportunity. So when I look as a small child, I see a lot of potential. And I told you, children are the future.
Yeah.
Those people have a lot of talents. Look at the current kids who are in primary schools, high school. We call them alpha generation.
I have one in my house.
Yes. These people were born with a phone in their hands, with the internet and everything. They are very, very bright. So they need to be protected because also they have a lot of information. You have to help them to sift through and see what is important and relevant so that they can be able to create their own potential and know that they have something to contribute to the world.
All right.
Life is a cycle.
It's a cycle.
You come into the world, you make your contribution, and then you exit.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are a champion of the gender equity and social inclusion. Is it GESI?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
You will tell us a little more about that. How can we support institutions, and especially for HRs, to mainstream this and to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity?
That is an interesting question. As a human resource professional, one thing that's so important for you is to make everybody feel that they belong. In your organization, do women and men feel that they belong to the organization? That is why I champion and I'm advocate of gender equity and social inclusion. Men and women, young people, everybody need to feel that they belong. So the starting point is creating policies and culture and expected behavior to enable everybody in the organization to feel that they belong. Belonging is very, very important. That is what makes people contribute, feel motivated, and they feel part of a performance of the organization because they feel that they are part and parcel of that organization. In my own work in RTI International and also Power Africa, once I managed a very interesting program for women. We call it Workforce Readiness Skills, where we were training young women, attaching them to the industry, providing them with the skills and behaviors that are expected in the work environment, so that when they get into the work environment, they are able to feel more accepted, and the people can see that they are able to contribute, because there are very, very few women in the energy sector, especially in the technical fields.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. All right. How would you describe your leadership style, and how have you had to navigate? You know, I've realized, speaking to people, the leadership style keeps changing depending on the circumstances they're faced with. How would you describe yours?
My leadership style, I employ two styles mostly. One of them is transformational leadership. When I lead people, I want people to create their own journey and to make a contribution and to feel free to be creative and think. That's quite transformational. Yeah. The other one is democratic, where people are free to air their views, okay? And even sometimes provide dissenting opinions. And that is how people get to grow. Yeah. Those are the two leadership styles that I employ. I find them quite interesting. Occasionally, you have to use other leadership styles, depending on the situation. Yeah. But those two enable people to grow and enable people to take charge of their own growth and development and their own contribution into the organizational performance.
Yeah, there's more ownership.
There is more ownership.
Yeah. True.
Of course, they have their own challenges, but with the time you learn how to navigate challenges, because people are different. Yeah. There are people who are not able to independently make decisions, and they don't need to consult. So you have to give them an opportunity to do that, because again, that is how they grow. Yeah. There are also people, if you give them a lot of freedom, they might deviate from the main goals of the organization.
Yeah, they get carried away.
They get carried away.
Yeah, true.
And you have to look for a way to bring them back on the course, because you have specific deliverables and objectives to achieve as an organization.
Yeah. Yes. And to your board experience, you sit in a board. There has always been a conversation about HR coming to the board. I think that's long gone, because HR professionals are in the board now. What has your experience in HR enabled you to do at the board level? What advantage do you feel that it has given you over the rest of your colleagues when it comes to handling matters at the board level?
Management of human capital. You know, an organization is people who work there. When you work with an organization, when you interact with everybody, all professionals, you kind of get a feel of what everybody is doing. So when you sit in the board, you can be able to understand the organization across. Think about a person who has specialized in specific areas, say accounting or engineering. Sometimes they may fail, not all the time. They may fail to see the entire organization and what everybody is doing with the organization. But a HR person understands everyone in the organization. So as you go up the ladder, you are able to see the entire organization and understand what you need to do to support everybody to be able to contribute to the organizational development. That's the advantage of my background. Yeah. Having gone through the various ladders to reach the board level. Yeah. Yes.
Now you in academia, you're leading business across the region. You are still in boards. You're serving with the children. When do you unwind, and how do you unwind? What is the downtime like for Dr. Kangure?
I do many things to unwind, because I'm also an advocate of work-life balance. There are people who actually work 24/7, and that is not very good for your health, for your own development, for peace of mind. So I do other things. I forgot to tell you that I'm a member of a sports club. I'm also a board member there. So I usually go there over the weekends. I swim. That's very much interested.
I saw someone swimming in the cold. I was like, what?
Yeah, some people are innovative nowadays. Yeah. They are using solar system to heat the swimming pool, so you can swim anytime, even early in the morning. I go to the gym. And I'm also a martial artist. That helps me to retain a good balance.
Oh, yes. Tell us a little more about martial arts. Most of us don't know what that is.
Martial arts, there are various types of martial arts. I play karate. Karate is a sport that teaches you discipline, self-awareness, self-defense, and confidence. And it's a very good exercise, because it exercises your entire body and also your mind. Wow. And it's quite interesting. It's a way to unwind. A way to move away from the norm of 8 to 5.
That's a unique one. Yes. You have intrigued me today with the children element and the environment in line with sustainability, as well as now the martial arts. That's an interesting thing to learn. As we bring this to a close, what are your thoughts, especially for East Africa? How can we take advantage of the opportunities that we have in Africa? Often we get lost in what's going on around us and don't see the opportunities. So what opportunities are you seeing in Africa, and how can we plug in as you give us your final thoughts?
Africa is endowed with a lot of resources.
Yeah.
Africa is not poor. We only need to exploit what we have. We have abundant natural resources.
Yep.
I'll give you an example of energy. We have a lot of hydro resources. I'll give you an example of Kenya and Ethiopia. Huge resources in hydro. We have huge resources in solar. We can actually be able to exploit a lot of energy from solar.
We have good weather almost throughout the year.
Good weather. Africa is naturally air conditioned. Yeah, very good weather. It doesn't raise too high, it's not too low. So we have a lot of resources and good environment.
Yeah.
Africa, about 70% of people are below the age of 35. Those are resources that we need, and we need to create opportunities for them to be able to develop our economies in Africa.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And your last thoughts on what you want to see for the HR space? You know, you at heart you are HR, even though you're in leadership now. What are you hoping to see for the HR community in Kenya?
One, I'm excited about what HR professionals are doing and the leadership roles they are holding. We have seen several of them being CEOs, serving in the boards. That is where we should be going. We should promote this profession to show that you don't need to remain at the lower levels. You need to be an executive. You need to be a leader within the HR space. HR professionals should also take advantage of the current trends. We have already talked about greening the industries. That is our staff. We should be able to contribute to the skills that support greening of our industries. Talk about technology, artificial intelligence. That is where human resource management should be going. HR stopped to be transactional a long time ago. We should be more strategic, and that is the direction that we should be taking.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kangure, for making the time, for sharing your experiences, and we look forward to hearing more from you and doing more research especially. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. What a great conversation that was. Thank you, Dr. Kangure, for sharing with us such great insights. Remember to follow us on our social media platforms at Ihrm Kenya and be on the lookout for the next episode. Until next time, I am your host, Ihrm Kimashia.